Hello and welcome back to Verde Broadcasting. Once upon a time, we used to do this on a sofa in the same room, but now we live very far apart and there's a tiny baby involved and we're both old. So now we're doing it remotely. We used to have a format called It Ain't Broke. We've changed it to archive reviews because it seems more, well, it seems less impenetrable. I think there's a double negative in there somewhere. I'm Richard Jackson. Sometimes I'm a cinematographer. Sometimes I'm a gaffer. Sometimes I'm a videographer. I've done all kinds of things. It's Duncan Casey. He's an actor. Say hello, Duncan Casey. He's an actor.
Hello, Duncan Casey. He's an actor, also producer, also writer, also jack of fucking everything. Bollocks.
We've gone in with that high energy that the kids love. We've gone straight in.
I've deflated it quite expertly.
So look, let's not fuck around. We used to have a program called It Ain't Broke that we used to do once a week. This won't be once a week, but we now have this basically the same format, but we're doing it remotely. And we've gone in early doors with a very, very, very obvious, the kids would say bait choice, my choice, this one, Return of the Jedi from the Star Wars.
Well, it's all right because my choice is equally as bait, but we'll get to that down the road.
I think that's what we're easing ourselves back into this format with kind of somewhat easy choices. This is my favorite Star Wars film. That's why I chose it.
And
it's the one.
Good to know. Yeah. Wow. I could get on board with that.
Yeah. I think do you know what? I find people of our narrow age group, like I'm talking about like people who are essentially
late millennials.
Late millennials. Well, do you know, I'll narrow it even down to like people who were in my year in school. No, we're late millennials, mate. Sorry.
Late, I suppose, in this, we're right on the cusp of
late to the party.
We're the old early ones. In the sense that it was right on. It was like 82 or 3 or something.
We're on the of course we're on the cusp. I don't know if it's like the 1997 re-releases or what, but and I know, so this is, remember that 3 films in, Star Wars fans decided they hated Star Wars, and that was because of Return of the Jedi. So this was the original reviled Star Wars film.
Yeah,
it's funny that and other things,
it's the first. I think it's interesting because if you look at what Star Wars or A New Hope, not Star Wars : A New Hope, what that would have been had George Lucas had his way, it probably would have been much more like Jedi, right? And it's interesting because I guess coming off the heels of something like Empire. See, I'm with you. I love Jedi, but I would definitely argue that Empire is the better film. However, that doesn't make it the most enjoyable film. It's a transition film very much, and it's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting because looking at Jedi is it's this sort of like it's the first film where Star Wars, the original Star Wars, was very controlled, wasn't it? I mean, it's a film that's been talked about as being saved in the edit. You come to Empire, you've got Irving Kershner. Very much taking the it's a film, that felt like it was suddenly it was a cinema, and if you watch that again, I mean, my goodness, like that film has some incredible visuals in it. It's a masterpiece, actually. It's beautiful, and it took the aesthetic of Star Wars and was very clever because it went like, we're going to take this really dark, we're going to make this a proper second act. There's no messing about. It's like, this is a second act. It leads on to something, which means we get to tell a very specific story. It's very much taking the hero's journey in a very dark direction. It's brilliant. I think Jedi comes in, and it's like, we've got the faults of it are that it tries to do the hero's story again. There's very similar beats trodden in it, but I think it tells it beautifully, and it's interesting because it sort of lets go of it. Feels like a sort of untightening of the reins, and Star Wars happens anyway. Sorry,
I feel like you've saved me a lot of breath there. I think really no, but it's good. Like so, Empire Strikes Back is kino, as Kant say. It's it's cinema. I don't mean Germans. I mean people. but it's a really like quite serious, quite worthy movie. And I would use almost your exact same phrasing. I don't think Return of the Jedi is the best film. but I think it's the most fun to watch. You know,
Yeah.
this is a really kind of nebulous thing to say, but fuck it, let's stay within my own kind of terms here. I think it's a better movie. I think
Right.
Empire's a better film. This is a better movie. This is a night out. This is a popcorn type thing. What I something that I made a rod for my own back years ago, but said I'm never going to talk about Star Wars again after I did that video with Toby. But that was 4 years ago, and it's our channel, so fuck you. It it's really important, and I think, and this is so important, and the film we're going to talk about next as well falls into this. It's really important not to divorce these films from their context, and it's important to remember that they are films, and people take them and good. You know, I will always get behind people who really love and are passionate about things. You know, I surround myself with stuff that I love and I'm passionate about, but treating it as your religion and as part of a broader religious crusade where, you know, so if you are already, if you've put the caps lock on and you're typing because within the last innocuous 5 minutes we said something that's offended your holy canon, probably just stop and breathe for a little bit. Okay, this is a science fiction space opera sequel that was released in 1983 as part of a large franchise on the cusp of the newly emerging kind of studio dominance after the post-Hollywood crash. Okay, it was born out of the kind of Southern California school of filmmakers, and it's part of that broader movement, and it's with us today owing to a corporate buyout. Those are the films Star Wars, the Star Wars, the Wars in the Stars, the Star Wars, the Star Wars, if you prefer.
I do prefer.
You do prefer. Yeah, I just this to me is like, I'll tell you what it is that what I really responded to, and I like the Star Wars trilogy as it was when I was a young'un. And they were on TV, and then they were on TV for the last ever time because that's before
Yes, I remember.
the re-releases.
Yes,
Do you remember?
Yes, of course. You just jogged my memory. Yeah, there was that.
And it would always be like
ever.
on ITV for the last time. It's Empire Strikes Back or whatever. So they went away for a little bit. So Star Wars was fairly quiet when we were kids. It's when the re-releases happened in 1997 and these came back to the cinema. I think that's when I really fell in love with them. Like, they were always part of my life and they were there, but then when I watched this, and Jedi in particular, because I remember like me and all my mates went to see the Star Wars re-releases, and I think Jedi I went to see 2 or 3 times, and I don't know what it is. I just find it like I know, like, because like you say, Empire Strikes Back is like, it's a movie, it's a film, and it's serious and it's dark and it's dramatic and it has all these kind of hero's journey beats and all this sort of stuff, and that's really, really important. But Return of the Jedi opens with a musical number by Muppets. So like, it's kind of a bit of a slap in the face, I think, if you've sat through the previous film. And then you've also got the people really objected to the Ewok stuff as well. But I always responded the most to having a fully formed Luke at his potential.
Yes.
You know, it was like Luke wearing black. He's not the kid we first met, you know, and his arc is brilliant because he's, you know, it's beginnings, middles, and ends, and we've had his middle, and this is his end if you don't count sitting here 40 years later watching things on streaming and everything. You know, he's an adult, he's come to terms with who he is, his place in the universe, and who he's related to, and his kind of dynastical struggles, and he's become kind of monk-like, and he's become the sort of Ronin, the lone warrior. And I thought that was awesome. Like, he turns up in black. He's got the green lightsaber. He's got the kind of glove on his hand. He's unflappable now. He's not, you know, he's like, he's not kind of screaming or crying. He's in control. And so's Leia. I mean, Leia was never a flapper, but like, she's kind of in charge of the rescue effort and stuff like that. And all the characters are kind of gelling. Something that was missing from fuck's sake, so hard now. So it was missing from the prequels, I always thought, was there was this really dynamic sense of friendship at the heart of all of Star Wars, and it's like this group of friends on an adventure solving a problem with like insurmountable consequences. And you know, the access get the prequels are lots of people standing around talking. The sequels did a decent enough job of synthesizing that, but the rails come off those in other ways. Like, well, the Force Awakens has those at the heart of it. But
the original trilogy, I think, has that, like, exactly like you say, it's a group of friends, and this is what sort of 70s, 80s cinema was a lot about. I mean, Spielberg and Lucas were hugely into this, and then it bleeds into what we're going to talk about next, which is by a certain Mr. Bob Zemeckis. But, you know, this thing of the tyranny of parenthood, and learning to stand on your own 2 feet, and Star Wars. I mean, it's hard to say it's subtext. I mean, it's very much in the forefront. It's about I won't say it's sort of it's not saying that parenthood is evil and it must decay and be burnt on a pyre or thrown down a shaft while shooting lightning out of its dick.
Subtext or just text?
Or just text. Yeah, he's not coming back. Oh, he is. Anyway, text. Yeah. But no, you know, I mean, it very much had that allegory behind it, and it's certainly after. I mean, it's in the first one, but certainly after, obviously, Empire, of course, leans into it massively. Because there's Luke, he's a wayward son, effectively with father figures, and it's still there. I mean, fuck, why am I even bothering? You all know Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So but as you say, it starts to unravel when you go, let's go back 3 movies worth, talk about something else, and it's just like, okay,
you start needing one of those serial killer maps on a wall just to fucking like
or the red.
This is why I do try to keep this grounded in context, because it unravels so quickly. But
you're right. Sorry, my point was you're absolutely right. This is a sort of the come of age moment for most of the characters in it. You know, it's like Luke, as you say, Luke is now authoritative. He's like, he's not questioning anymore. He's like, no, I know what. He now knows what life is, right? He's been betrayed by what should have been his father. He understands the evil that can happen in adulthood, the corruption, and he is here to try and stand as a beacon of light, even if it means his own demise. And he faces obviously that point of destruction or corruption, and brilliant, you know. And it's quite a fulcrum moment, you know. And so I think this is the thing, plot beat wise, it does sort of retread Empire, but character wise, it takes things into a whole other level, right?
Yeah, the only person really who doesn't change. Well, it's not really true, because Han Solo is basically the same, and he's literally been frozen between films, as if to hammer that home. But he opens himself up to love and becomes part of a couple, and they have this power couple space adventure dynamic, you know, whereas before he was a bit of a wide boy. And then they kind of just bin that all in the next one, but whatever.
I tell you what, the moment for him is, you know, when he's there with Leia and he goes, look, when Luke comes back, I won't get in the way. And she goes, he's my brother. And he's like, and the moment that what's important for him is he lets go of his cynicism, right? Because it's like, that's the thing he couldn't control. That's the thing where it's like, I didn't know that. Like, how could you know that? He thought they were the perfect couple, and then it turned out they were fucking brother and sister. And he's like, and that for me is because I know Han Solo campaigned for him to die in this film, and sorry, Han Solo.
Han Solo campaigned for Harrison Ford to die.
And Alan Ford said that,
and then John Ford hit him with a car. I don't know.
Anyway,
sorry, the rails came out quick enough, didn't they?
And then Tom Ford brought a beautiful suede jacket and some elegant fragrance.
Just made sure they all smelled great.
Sorry.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford obviously campaigned for it. Yeah. And what's better than that is that moment where he realizes, I'm not in control of my fate anymore, because that's very much a character trait throughout, which is he's so cynical. I mean, he lets go of it in the first film, like, arguably, you know, he agrees with the Force and he sees it in action, and he is sort of, it's not a Damascene conversion, but it's like it's an awakening. But in this, it's very much like, now I'm going to open my heart to just possibility in life, and I'm going to fight with some werebears and take out the Empire. that there's a GIF that obviously does the rounds of him running. You know, when he's like runs out, and he's like,
yes,
I love that. You know,
it's
I think he's so good in this. You know, and it would have been such a massive shame for him to sort of gone out in this film. But
he's effortlessly good in them, isn't he?
Oh,
I think he's just sort of.
He's wonderful. This is peak forward as well, because obviously he goes into the sort of 80s, 90s stuff, where and he was the highest paid actor in the 90s as well. He holds that record.
Yes, yeah, I read that somewhere.
Which is awesome. But no, he's I think all the characters hit their stride in this film. Like you were saying, sorry, I just took your point and ran with it.
I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, no, like he changes, but I think everybody else has changed more. I mean, I just love the way it opens, like because it's not the most sophisticated visual storytelling in the world, but it's full of it, which is nice. But like Luke wears black now, so we're kind of ambiguous as to where he's at. His lightsabers change color, so it's kind of
looking
like
at his robot hand as well.
Yeah, exactly.
When he's about to take out Vader, and he's like,
and when he turns up at Jabba's palace, his hood casts a silhouette that looks like Vader. His blade is green. It's like, hold on, blue good, red bad. Where's this now? Like, what does that mean? And there's the stuff in the end fight where Vader's baiting him, and half his face is lit blue and the other half is lit white. It's not dreadfully subtle, but it's all about his ambiguity and his inner struggle. It's told visually repeatedly. It's got all these nice little kind of visual notes in it. Yoda's worried about it. Obi-Wan's worried about it. It's brought up in dialogue time and time again. I really like, because I remember sort of when episode 1 came out, I was like, oh, I like the lightsaber fights. This has the best fight if you want to be like that. We want to be playground. This has the best fight in all of Star Wars because I think it just carries the most meaning. Because like you're constantly told like you can't get angry, and that's kind of what's examined as what was wrong with the Jedi, is that you can't get angry because then they win. As soon as you get angry, they win. And he's been this stoic the whole film. And at the end, when Vader's taunted him and he's got him on the ground, he's just wailing on him. And it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. He's just like, he's lost all control. It's not balletic. It's not accurate. It's not kind of samurai. It's just angry thug. And he's got him on the floor and one hand just wailing on him and wailing on him and wailing on him because it's just pure anger and rage, which he's not supposed to do. And it's just so engaging on that level because he's there trying to hold it together and he's kind of like, oh, fuck you because you've got a sister, and then he just comes out like it's fucking amazing. Like it's just such good, all that character work has been set up within this movie to get you to that point. Maybe they're the same and all that stuff.
Well, it's a comment on masculinism, if you will. Much as the same I've sort of said about Superman as a character as well, because it's that thing of you can't, and these sort of cautionary tales of what it more broadly is to be masculine. I won't say a man, but more have that masculine energy that's in all of us. Is that thing of if you just let it off the chain, you can achieve your goal, which might be to vanquish an evil person or enemy or do away with something bad, but at what cost? If you just unleash yourself. It's that thing that I mean, it's so ridiculous to quote it, but the I think it was the Superman cartoon rather than the Justice League one, but it might have been Justice League. There's that bit with Darkseid where Superman has Darkseid on Earth and Darkseid kills one of the cops. I think the cops are trying to stand up to Darkseid and he kills the chief of police, and Superman just goes, "That's it." He goes, he's like, I spent my whole life living like I'm surrounded by cardboard, afraid of a tiny thing if I lose control, even for a second, I could kill someone, but you can take it. And I'm going to fucking unleash, and it's just like this, when he unleashes on Darkseid, smashes him about. And it's like, that's what I mean about this is what, as in terms of that masculine energy, it's that thing of just like unleashing your power, and that's very much what happens in this film. It's like this, it's like you say, that moment, like you say, it gives you goosebumps because it's just like giving into the dark side. It's called giving into the dark side, right? Yeah. And the Emperor's there going good, and it's
worth a million backflips. It's worth all the choreography in the world. It doesn't matter. Text. Like it is cool. Text. It is cool in Phantom Menace when they do that. That's lovely. It doesn't mean anything. Like they don't know each other, and it's just like, well, he's bad. Yeah. Like this is the culmination of this relationship and the betrayal that he's experienced and the lies he's been told. And he's not just angry at Vader. He's angry at Obi-Wan, and he's just angry at everything.
Yes.
but he's not
And
allowed to be
Yoda
angry. He's got
and
people in his
everyone.
fucking ear telling you you're not allowed to have any emotion. And then, and he stood there, and it's everything they feared. And that's why it's such a wonderful bit of character for him, is because, he chooses to do what's right, because the point was the Emperor wants him to fucking kill Vader. Vader's this maimed, kind of useless lapdog that, he wanted Anakin Skywalker, he got Vader. Fuck Vader, he can have Luke now. He can have this kind of 21-year-old violent nutcase that's just turned up at his death egg, but he chooses not to. And then it's lovely. He throws the sword away and he says, I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. It's just really,
Well,
it's a really beautiful character moment.
Also, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There's the corruptibility of youth when you look at. I mean, and this is where the prequels do have an effect, is a sort of corrupting youth, and the sense of like, again, it's this sort of playing against the tabula rasa idea that you can just take anyone. So, the Emperor's idea is, oh well, I mean, not to get into the fucking midichlorian bullshit, but
Sure.
the kind of, this idea that, oh, here's someone with an innate ability or power. If I corrupt them, I can manipulate them and I can bend it to my will. And I think this is it's a cautionary tale on that front. But that's what Vader is. I mean, that is where it does link up in a way, but it links up. You still don't need to watch the prequels to understand it. It's like this idea that that's what Vader was.
It stands alone. Yeah. It stands alone.
Absolutely,
we've got enough, because you get it. Like, and the thing is, he's all the shit now, the man, and all that. Like, and it's all told to you. It doesn't matter that he fell in a fucking volcano. None of that matters. You tell, he was my friend and he went bad and I had to put him down and I lied to you about that. And then, he cuts his hand off and there's wires in there and he looks at his own hand and obviously he can't breathe and everything. And it's, something that I've talked about before that I really want to just talk, because I just don't really see it talked about enough. And it's something that Toby put in my head. And we talked about it when we were making our film, for reasons I won't get into, didn't quite come off. The Empire is all about mockeries of nature, right? So like, it's a sphere. It looks like a planet, but it's not one. And it looks like a walking chicken, and it's not one. And it looks like a walking dog thing, and it's not one. And everything they have are these kind of like grotesqueries, these kind of mockeries of nature. And Vader is an extension of that, right? Because he's this kind of wood, and he has to breathe with a machine, and he's not quite all there and everything. And that's viewed as this kind of your ultimate dark fate if you do fall to the dark side. That's great. They're not even references when you talk about Star Wars. It's just just Star Wars text. And that's something that and there is stuff like, and this is the thing, I because I'm not some kind of huge high Star Wars fan, I'm not massively involved in the lore and stuff. People complain like, oh, there's another Death Star, that's not very original. I'm kind of like, I'm all right with it. I'm fine with it. I think having a third Death Star in Force Awakens is taking the fucking piss, but like doing it again, I'm like, I'm not that bothered.
The good thing in Jedi is it's not finished. It's like it's this thing of like, oh, and the point is they're trying to do it again. Not the film's trying to do it, they're trying to do it again, and of course they get fucked by it. It's like
they get what's coming to them.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the point? It's like they're the idiots, not the filmmakers. I mean, fuck. But yeah.
Well, and also you've got like, I think it gives you enough more of this world to be kind of satisfying, particularly in that you see the Emperor properly, and like, because it's things like, I don't care how many novels are written about the Emperor's fucking Imperial Guard. They're guys in cool red costumes, and it just raises questions about the Emperor because he doesn't trust Vader enough for Vader to be that guy. Whoever they are, he's the layers of separation between him and Vader and the hierarchy and stuff. And it's kind of like, it kind of adds to it. Like,
it's just a layer of filmmaking. It's like, why do we? Star Wars is the perennial or pre-generator of that thing of like, well, that's there. It must have a meaning. It's like, it has an internal meaning. Must we push? Like, the same thing with a Predator, right? It's the thing of like,
we've talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a sort of fork hanging off his dick. It's like, well, that doesn't mean
it's a tuning fork to communicate with other predators and pianos.
And that's how he knows when it's Tuesday. It's like, no, it doesn't. That's no. It's like, stop reading into the shit. It's like, the point is, the filmmakers, that's a very deliberate costume design, and it's a very deliberate place, and everyone was placed in the person. But if you've ever made a film, you know, it's like, and don't get me wrong, you do consider these things. You go, yeah, right, okay, so that needs to look like that, and and then and you sit there and you go, okay, well, that could mean that the Emperor has thought this, and it all informs character. We don't need a film about it though, and we don't need to know.
Yeah.
It's the point is so the audience goes, that's there deliberately. Good. I'm immersed. I'm not sitting here wondering what the fuck is going on. Yeah, that's the point. You know, and I do find it tedious.
It's just how the left guy spots shit that they love to do with Star Wars. And it started then. Like even as a kid, it was like the fucking guy walking around in the background of one scene gets a toy. Like, what the fuck? You know, I didn't because I remember buying I used to buy like fistfuls of Star Wars toys at car boot sales and stuff. They'd just be, you know, someone have them under a table at a car boot, a bucket of old like He-Man and Action Man and Star Wars toys, and buy Star Wars toys. It'd be like that fucking guy, like there's a guy changing a tire in Star Wars and he gets a toy.
Who has a tire in Star Wars?
Well, yeah, sorry, yeah, power converter.
But that's the point, you know.
Yeah, fucking Space Jeff or whatever. So you know that all kind of starts there. But yeah, this is the one. This is one I put on. Brad's probably done this to you before. Our good friend of the show, Brad Watson. He came to stay with mine when he was working on a movie. He came to stay with me, and then we went out for a curry and we got pissed. And we ended up till like 6 a.m. watching movies because that's what happens when you're with Brad. Yeah. And I wanted to put Return of the Jedi on, and he was kind of like, you know, I was very much at that time known for just that grumpy bastard that hates everything. And I'd been moaning a lot about Star Wars because I was just sick to the back teeth of Star Wars. And he was like, and to him, it's like, you know, in Cambridge, they say Richard's heart grew 3 times that day. That's his Richard stole Christmas moment. He's kind of like, I knew it. I knew you liked it. And then we watched Return of the Jedi together, much to Brad's delight. It was like, he was very, very pleased by that. Yeah, this is a Sunday. This ranks in my comfort movies. This is a Sunday afternoon chuck on Jedi. If I'm having a tricky time, I'll put Jedi on. Like, it's a nice comfort movie.
Brad and I have that, but with James Bond. So we will either watch Moonraker or Tomorrow Never Dies. That's if we're going to just sit down and chuck on a movie, or Living Daylights, depends. But you know, that's we have a few go-to Bond films where we're just like, come on, why don't people see this? And then we put it on and we go, this is amazing, you know. So and I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. Jedi. I mean, when I was a kid, because I got into Star Wars, I got into it pre the '90s hype, the sort of revival, because my friends had it and they insisted I watch it, and I was like, oh, fuck, you know, and it scared the crap out of me. Vader, Empire scared the crap out of me. But then Jedi. And Jedi always felt like the sort of romp, the kind of bit where you could just let go and enjoy the kind of ride.
It's the victory lap. It's the home run. You know, you got through all the kind of dark stuff and the serious stuff, and you should do because it's awesome. But like, this is the kind of fun romp home, you know, and it ties it all up, and everyone's got where they need to be. It's kind of weirdly paced. I will not argue for its pace. It's weirdly like it comes barnstorming first act, then it kind of sags hanging out with the Care Bears. And then it races this final act. It's kind of, but I'm fine with it. I still find it completely watchable. I've complained about the pacing of other movies many times in the past, but I'm all for it. I'm here for it. It just works for me every time. And I don't know if part of it is that nostalgia thing, because Star Wars was something that my mum would chuck on to keep us busy while she was like cutting old lady's hair in the kitchen and stuff, and or had to do, you know, cook something and put that's a good or go rent it because we'd like, you know, something she knew we'd like. So Star Wars was there, and then it went away, and then the re-releases came out, and I kind of went a bit nuts for the re-releases in '97. Say what you will about the quality of those and the things that were done to them, but I was 13, so you know. Yeah, well, I think that puts us where we need to be. I think we shot the shit out of the Return of those Jedi. What do you reckon?
I agree. I think we did.
That Return of those Jedi. So yeah, we could, if you wanted us to do more Star Wars ones, we can. Our patience with that could be limited, but I just wanted to do. We're easing our way back in with some fairly kind of easy picks, just to kind of flex the muscle because we haven't done this in a long time. And I kind of thought, you know what, Return of the Jedi, I can just gas about that quite easily, and I'm glad to have done so with you. So, yeah, we're back. We've had a rebrand. We're doing watch parties again. I'm waiting on some better broadband so we can do the watch parties properly. We are on Patreon. You can find us on Patreon as Verde Broadcasting. We're on Facebook and Twitter as Verde Broadcasting. And all kinds of fun stuff is going on. So thanks for tuning in. Duncan, I'm going to say goodbye. Do you have anything to say before I do that?
No, I think you've covered it beautifully. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and listening.
And we'll see you next time for Duncan's pick, which is a Robert Zemeckis thing. Goodbye.